Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and today we're going to talk about another piece of terminology, and that is battle rifle. A couple weeks ago, I did a video on assault rifle, which is a term that is loaded with political baggage, but is a legitimate technical professional term with a specific universally understood meaning, at least among firearms professionals. Battle rifle is a bit different in that it is not a technically recognized term, although it is widely used, and frankly, I think it's a fairly useful term. And it's also one that doesn't really have any political baggage associated with it. So the purpose of the term battle rifle is to identify a specific group of guns that people generally see as similar in utility. And to that end, I think there are four specific criteria that qualify something as a battle rifle. Number one, it is military style or military pattern. Number two, it is intended to be fired primarily from the shoulder. Number three, it is self-loading. And number four, it uses a full power rifle cartridge. Now, I know there are people already angrily hammering into the comments about at least one of those things. So let's go over them all in detail. But first, again, the concept here is to basically draw a circle around a group of guns that people kind of recognize as, this is what I'm thinking of, how do I quantify it? And generally this is to separate a rifle like an FNFAL from a rifle like an AR-15 or an AK-74, and it's largely based on the caliber. But there are other elements here. So for example, if I were to pull out a semi-automatic hunting rifle, something like the confusingly named Browning BAR, not the military pattern BAR, but the hunting BAR, which has a detachable, like a 3-round magazine, and it's chambered for cartridges like 30-06, it meets all of our other three criteria. It's semi-auto, it's fired from the shoulder, it's a full power cartridge, but that's not what people are specifically trying to identify when they say battle rifle. They're talking about a rifle that's used in a military context. Hence, my first qualifier, it needs to be a military style or military pattern rifle. Now, what exactly constitutes a military-style rifle? I don't have specifics for that. Like, that's kind of, you know it when you see it. It's intended to be used in a military paradigm rather than a hunting paradigm. And yes, there's a lot of crossover here. You know, you can absolutely use something like a FAL for hunting. You can absolutely take something like a semi-auto 3-round hunting rifle and use it in a military context. Neither of them are going to necessarily be ideal for those alternate roles, but they can cross over. So this isn't a formal, official, cast-in-stone definition. There are gray zones here. So I think I may be getting these out of order. But number two, we'll go with fired primarily from the shoulder. The idea here is there's a difference between a light machine gun and a battle rifle. So something like a FAL is like widely understood. This is the quintessential battle rifle. Military, 7.62 NATO caliber. It's an infantry shoulder rifle. But some of them have bipods. This one doesn't, but some do. And in particular, ones that have full auto capability and bipods can be used in a pinch as sort of ersatz light machine guns. A really good example would also be, say, an FG-42. This is a rifle that is primarily intended to be a service shoulder-fired rifle, but it has a full auto setting. This one doesn't, but the military ones did. And it has a bipod on it so that you can run it from the bipod and use full auto to create suppressing fire in a context here where you're a German paratroop and you don't have any actual general purpose machine guns, but you give guys this and it sort of functions as a workaround light machine gun until you get better equipment and supplies dropped into your position. The fact that this can be used as a light machine gun does not disqualify it from being a battle rifle, because it's designed and intended to be fired from the shoulder. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we have something like this, a Châtellerault 2429, true light machine gun. Technically, if you're good and beefy, you can shoot this from the shoulder, but it's not intended to be fired from the shoulder. This is intended to be fired from the bipod as a suppressive fire support weapon. This is not a battle rifle because it's not primarily intended to be fired from the shoulder. Now, our next criteria, we're going to go back to the FAL here, because our next one is that it is self-loading. This, to me, a battle rifle can be either semi-automatic or fully automatic, or burst mode, which is just another type of full automatic. The best example of this would be the Falklands War as one, where the Argentine army is armed with FNFALs that are capable of firing full auto, and the British army is armed with FNFALs that are only capable of firing in semi-automatic. And yet I don't think anyone would argue that either of those are not battle rifles. Another good example here, semi-auto only, M1 Garand. Is this a battle rifle? Absolutely it is. This is almost as definitive and quintessential a battle rifle as the FAL or the AR-10. So semi-automatic absolutely qualifies. Full auto also does. Full auto does not disqualify this. Now, this is a little bit different than assault rifle, where an assault rifle has to be capable of burst or fully automatic fire. Battle rifle can go either way. See, another good example, if we're going to do a little bit of is it or is it not, designated marksman's rifles. Like, is this a battle rifle? This is a Yugoslav M76. The Romanian PSL, the Soviet Dragunov are very similar in layout and concept to this. This meets all of our requirements. Intended to be fired from the shoulder, it's a full power cartridge, semi-automatic in this case, and it's military pattern. Some people might suggest that because it's intended to be used with an optic that it is not a battle rifle. I disagree. This to me is absolutely a battle rifle. So our last criteria is caliber, full power rifle cartridge. What does that specifically mean? Well, we can start with the easy stuff. Like if we're thinking about battle rifles as this circle of guns that people are trying to describe, at the middle of the circle where there's really no argument, no one's quibbling about it, we have essentially, think of it as World War I combat cartridges, 30-06, 7.92 Mauser, 7.62x54 rimmed. Not World War I, but 7.62 NATO absolutely is a battle rifle caliber. Where you start getting into a little bit of weird zone are things like perhaps 6.5 Creedmoor. Is that a battle rifle cartridge? I'm going to say yes. It's got the case length of a battle rifle cartridge. One easy way to differentiate these in sort of the modern Western milieu is if it uses an SR-25, if it's an AR-10 scale magazine, that's a battle rifle. If it's an AR-15 scale magazine, that's an assault rifle, or an intermediate cartridge in this case. So 6.5 Creedmoor, yeah, I'd say that is. What about something like, say, an SKS? It is shoulder fired, obviously. It is semi-automatic. We already know full auto isn't required for a battle rifle. It's very much military. Like this is literally a military issued rifle, not a battle rifle, because it does not use a full power cartridge. This uses 7.62x39. It's an intermediate caliber rifle. This does not qualify as either a battle rifle or as an assault rifle, because it's not full auto either. So just because it isn't an assault rifle doesn't mean that it becomes a battle rifle. But again, there's a little bit of wishy-washiness on this. There are probably some people who would put this into the category of a battle rifle simply because it doesn't meet the criteria of assault rifle. The term battle rifle is not a fixed, like technically recognized term. So there are going to be some conflicting definitions to some degree. Few other calibers that might cause a little bit of debate among people would be some of the least powerful of the World War II era rifle cartridges, or World War I as well. Things like 6.5 Arisaka, 6.5 Carcano. When people say battle rifle, they're typically thinking about guns that are heavy hitting. The ammunition is heavy. You're only able to carry a limited amount of ammunition compared to intermediate cartridges. You have significantly more recoil from it. You have longer range from it. And these are things where a cartridge like 6.5 Carcano doesn't really meet up to the standards of 30-06. 6.5 Carcano's really on the low end of the muzzle energy, of the practical effective range, all those things. But to me, they still fall into battle rifle, although it's a little bit of sort of a moot point because there aren't really any common semi-automatic rifles chambered for 6.5 Japanese or 6.5 Carcano. There are a few out there. Someone's already mentioned the Scody in the comments, I'm sure, and you're right, Scody is the Scody X. I don't have one here to show you, but it is, by all the appropriate definitions to me, a battle rifle. It's semi-automatic, 6.5 Carcano, which I would call a full power rifle cartridge, although one of the lesser powerful of them. It is a military rifle. It is shoulder fired. It was only made in an experimental run of 250, but that doesn't change the fact that to me is a battle rifle. So there we go. There's our overview. Military pattern rifle, fired from the shoulder, full power cartridge, self-loading. Just to be clear, again, some people will leave out the self-loading thing and say, oh, well, you know, a number 4 Lee Enfield is a battle rifle because it meets all the other 3 criteria. To me, that's not really what we're getting at. The intention with this term is to differentiate between the guy who's carrying a FAL and 100 rounds of ammunition as a combat load, and the guy who's carrying an AR-15 and 240 rounds of ammunition as a combat load. The AR-15 can run in full auto, higher effective rate of fire, shorter effective range. The FAL, heavier ammo, more powerful cartridge, longer effective range, reduced effective rate of fire because of higher recoil and limited ammunition carrying capacity. That's the differentiation that the term battle rifle is intended to create. Hopefully you guys found this interesting. It's a term that I really didn't think was all that militarily important these days, except then the US goes and theoretically looks like it's going to adopt 6.8 by 51 and the XM7 rifle from SIG, which absolutely is a battle rifle. That's, you got limited ammo, it meets all of our criteria, and the cartridge is in fact more powerful than most standard full power rifle cartridges, thanks to its excessively high pressure. So who knows, maybe we're going to see a comeback of the battle rifle in military service. I don't really think so. I think the compromise of intermediate cartridges for shoulder rifles is probably the more practical, better way for militaries to go, but who knows? We'll just watch and see. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.